Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring Donjuancho in our top left corner playing our red Zerg, and in the bottom right we have Kangaroosack, our blue Zerg. It is a Zerg versus Zerg. We are on Ohana. Both players are in mid to high masters depending on your definition. And you know, in my definition is if you're in masters, then you deserve to be called high masters because you're really good at the game, and that deserves praise. Ohana is really good at the map game. It's got a nice small ramp leading down to a nice choked off natural. Choke is up here, a medium-sized ramp leading down to the common ground. With Zerg versus Zerg, the common ground is really important because it's kind of chopped up. Many different places to hide Zerglings, send them in backwards pathways that will avoid the overlords, which are already scouting the map, and we'll probably see plenty of them spotted around the landscape, just providing constant reassurance that if a rush is coming, it will be scouted. But with so many different pathways in Ohana, it's difficult to cover all of them. And you've also got multiple opportunities to expand around the mini-map, around the main map. So it's a really interesting map for Zerg, especially with the kind of backdoor afforded by the destructible debris, as well as the common ground, which kind of makes surrounds difficult and also makes ambushes easy. Overall, I like Ohana. It's a nice map. It's a very nice map. It's very fun, and with two master level players, I'm sure we're going to see some crazy good back and forth. Though both players seem to be favoring the macro style, Kangaroosack is the first to blink, throws down the spawning pool at 15 supply. Don is a little bit afterwards. He opting for a hatch first build. It's just going a little bit more macro, but with both players waiting till the 15 supply, it's not exactly cheese. It's not exactly early pressure. Kangaroosack will have a couple of Zerglings out a little extra, but I'm absolutely positive that with the money being banked by Don, he's going to be able to throw down a pool any second now to get up his own standing army. There goes the pool. A little bit of kiting back and forth, a little bit of harassment from Don in the probe line. Kangaroosack's just now getting his first drone into the probe line just to see that no pool has been completed and no gas has been grabbed just yet. Don was opting for that early expansion, whereas Kangaroo hasn't even made motions for the expansion. He's got the money, though, and he's got the probe in position, the drone in position, and that guy is going to be building a hatchery any second now. What's interesting to see is that there's no gas from either player just yet. Speed is super important in this matchup because the map is so large. You really want your Zerglings to be able to capitalize on any weakness that your opponent shows in his main base, as well as the ramp right here, which can be blocked off by two queens pretty easily, and speedlings can slip up in between those queens and not give your opponent enough time to react. Don is getting two of those queens out right now, which will go a long way to defending his home base as the first couple of Zerglings arrive at home. I don't think Don will have any big problem. He's got two Zerglings out on the field, as well as a numerical superiority in the harvester count. So his excess drones can directly translate to increased damage per second. And even though both of his Zerglings have gone down, they severely weakened the Zerglings from Kangaroosack, and only one of them remains, which really won't be able to do too much, especially now that the queens are out of both expansions. That guy's going to get taken down probably before he does any damage to these probes. Yeah, he does go down. Still no gas from Don, though. We can see one gas has been grabbed from Kangaroosack, and that is important. That gas can directly translate to a technological superiority, and with roaches against Zerglings, it's a pretty messy battle, especially if the upgrades are also heavily in Kangaroosack's favor, and by heavily I mean just one. Just one plus attack, one plus armor can make a huge difference. Don is getting up some static defenses instead of gas. Remember, it costs one probe to make a geyser, but it also costs 3 to mine it. So that's directly translates to quite a lot of gas, or to quite a lot of minerals that you don't have to spend on anything else. And Don has a significant harvester lead over Kangaroo, and then that harvester lead is also compounded by the fact that Kangaroo is mining gas, so he's not going to have nearly as many minerals to harass Don, and he's going to have to kind of double down on his unit production to get a bunch of Zerglings into Don's base and do quite a lot of damage. And it looks like he's got that number out right now. Saturation down at the natural is non-existent, whereas Don has a pretty good saturation. He's mining off of both bases. You can see the difference right there in income. These Zerglings are probably just waiting for the metabolic boost. It's still got about 50 seconds left to go, so it's Gonna get his Zerglings in position, probably up by the third, maybe down here in one of the dark areas where he knows an Overlord is not watching, so that he can just dart in as soon as that speed is done. And we're getting very close. Another 16 Zerglings popping out right now, and the mining from the gas has continued. He's banking up quite a lot. Probably going to see a lair, if not something else. A Baneling nest. This could be very interesting if these Zerglings hold off before, even after the metabolic boost goes down. No, it looks like they're going to be committing to an attack. Not going to wait for the Baneling nest so that he can do some massive damage to the probe line. Pulling in, getting an excellent surround right on the queens. Well, we can see some last-second transfuses from Don. Some really good unit control there, keeping alive the queens rather than the spines. The spines doing massive damage, but 2 queens have gone down. That's quite an investment. Very important to realize that the 2 queens holding position by the front door, and then we also have the probes holding or stop on the stop command right by the front door also, so that they don't hold aggro from the Zerglings, making it so basically the queens are invulnerable to any aggression out of the Zerglings. Quite a lot of Zerglings did go down, though the units lost tab will show you that it's pretty much neck and neck, a little bit in the deficit towards Kangaroosack. But with the 2 queens going down, that's quite a lot of time and investment, and it's going to be a while before Don recovers from them. 2 queens did go down, right? I mean, he started off with 1, and it was one here, and then he just pulled it back. Maybe only 1 went down. I'm pretty sure 2 did. But regardless, it still was a bit of a loss, and Kangaroosack has capitalized on that by getting up a good saturation down as natural, as well as securing 2 more geysers and a Roachwarren, getting lair up too. So this is that technological superiority that I was talking about. At the same time, Don has really just vaulted ahead in the gas production. He's got 4 geysers going strong. He doesn't have as much gas as Kangaroo all told, because Kangaroo's been investing that gas, but he does have 2 Evo chambers up working on the range upgrade as well as armor and a Roachwarren. So it looks like it's a Roach build coming out of Don, which is very economically savvy, if not supply friendly. Kangaroo is grabbing his 3rd, a pretty ballsy move. Ooh, also ballsy is to invest that early gas lead into a Spire, which we see is building down at the main. Doesn't look like he's going to be using the Banelings anytime soon, because that's going to take out a lot of gas, which is really the limiting build when it comes to air Zerg. Getting that 3rd up and also the 4th geyser. So it appears that both players are going to sit back and wait for their respective technology to finish, getting the range upgrade for, and by range I mean range weapon upgrade for the Roaches, as well as the speed, and Spire up for Kangaroo. Don was making motions like he wants to take an expansion. He's got quite a lot of money, but I don't think he's feeling safe enough to do that. I don't know. He might be afraid of another push from those Zerglings, and out on that 3rd, it's so exposed. He might actually be fearful that he can't actually take it down. He hasn't taken down the destructible debris, which tells me that he's not going to be taking a 3rd anytime soon. Rather, he's going to be pushing out with his mass of Roaches into the middle of the field. These Roaches can do quite a lot of damage and not take a lot of damage from these Zerglings. And remember, these Roaches now have the 1-1. Or 1-1, it will be finishing in 2 seconds right whenever this push happens. So this is a very intimidating timing from Don. Looks like a counterattack from Kangaroosack once he sees that, but he's got to be very careful. The Hydra Den just finished, and the Infestor Pit is also very close to finishing in Don's home. He's got quite a lot of money to blow. 7 Hydras on the way. These Zerglings won't be able to do too much pushing in at the 3rd. The 3rd goes down for Kangaroo, while the Zerglings are kind of caught out in the open, checking to make sure that no expansion was taken by Don. Oh, but the Mutalisks are out on the field now. We can see that a healthy number, it looks like 8 of them, are out picking away at the Roaches. Roaches don't take too much damage from Mutalisks, but they do take damage, and the Roaches really can't fire back. They have to rely on those Hydras who are out on the field. We can see the Pathogen Gland is not done yet, but once it does finish, these Mutalisks are going to be in quite a lot of trouble. So this represents pretty big risk for Kangaroosack. He's going to have to get in there and do a lot of damage. The static defenses are up for Don at home. 1 or 2 are also at the natural, which is really playing to his advantage of the fact that he did not take that 3rd. That 3rd's defenses would not be up. It looks like these Mutalisks are only going to be able to pick off random Overlords. I think if the Mutalisks committed, they could probably take out all these Hydras, but the sheer number of Mutalisks that would go down really doesn't it's not very cost effective for Kangaroosack to get it, and he knows it. He's throwing down an infestor pit, which will be another place for him to spend a bunch of gas. It looks like he's going to be moving away from those Mutalisks, as they're just not very effective with the small number of bases that the Zerg has. Usually expect Zergs to have a third, maybe a fourth at this time. But Don is playing very conservative, and he's only pushing out whenever he knows he can defend it. And now that he has a very intimidating army and a lot of creep spread, he feels comfortable enough to push out. These mutas have to be very careful. Couple of infestors just now popping. A massive fungal growth goes down, capturing. Then another one goes. A chain fungal giving the Hydras enough time to catch up to the bundle of Mutalisks, and all of them go down in short order. A terrifying loss for Kangaroosack. All of a sudden, the thing that was keeping Don contained in his base is gone, and now Kangaroosack has to get up an army that's capable of defending the two expansions that he's created. Pathogen Glands is just about to finish. The infestors will pop out immediately afterwards. A good timing from Kangaroosack, but he's got to rely on those infestors. He doesn't have a bunch of roaches up, just a couple on their way. He's got some heavy tech, but Don has a heavy army, and it is moving in and is right on top of his front door. These spines might be enough to hold them back. Some good fungal growths might hold the roaches back, but that level 2 armor is on the way, as is 2 weapons. Kangaroosack is supply blocked too, so he can't spend the money even if he wanted to. Some really nice fungal growths going down. You can just see the damage being done to those roaches by the spines, who are doing extra damage, as well as the fungal growth, just massive damage to those roaches, but there's just not enough infestors out on the field. It looks like Don is going to pull back. He was hoping that the natural was going to be spineless, because most of the spines have been transferred down to the 3rd to protect it. I don't think he knows about the completely undefended 4th in the wings, but right now he's just burrowing to get up his health again, maybe think about pushing. Has to be careful, though, with the plethora of infestors down at the 3rd, and probably some will be popping any second now to join in. Hive is out for Kangaroosack, so he's really investing heavily in his technology, but it's not really giving him any returns. The Mutalisks did not work out. He doesn't have as many upgrades. 2-2 finishing now for Don, and we're still at 0 for 0 for Kangaroosack. 0 for 0 across the board. So even though he's got that some high-tech units, he's got the infestors, he's got the spire, he's not really using it to its best, the best of his abilities. He also isn't. He's got how many queens? 2 queens and only 10 larvae. He's not spending his money as much as he should. Just 2 queens with 4 bases. You'd expect more. You'd expect at least one at the 3rd. Not one for Don either. I guess he's got a macro hedge? No? Huh. I don't know what to make of that. It looks like Don has just got more bases out longer. He's getting his 4th right now. The infestors that are burrowed are moving off into the common ground. We have an Ultralisk Cavern for Sack again. Just another tech switch. He's just blowing quite a lot of money on different techs that aren't giving him a lot of return, but Ultralisks can be incredibly intimidating and incredibly successful if you manage to get the right type of engagement, which is probably what Sack is hoping for. The infestors, though, have found the 4th, which is being built. Looks like they've got the spawn infestors queued up, but unfortunately for him, the Overseer was in the area, and all of these infestors are going to go down. This is another pretty drastic loss. Those infestors represented one of the only defenses he had against Don's major army. We can see the supply is pretty much cut in half. Chitinous planting started immediately once the Ultralisk Cavern pops, as well as level 1 Zerg Carapace. So those Ultras are going to do plus extra damage to the roaches, but they're also going to have some massive armor to help deal with that ball of units, and I think a suitable number of Ultralisks will probably cut through Don's army. But what stands to reason is, that 3rd has been up for quite a while for Don. He doesn't have the harvester count to produce off of it. He's got the 56. You'd expect something closer to what Kangaroosack has right now. So economically speaking, Kangaroosack is in a better position, but he doesn't have the economy. He does have the economy. He doesn't have the supply. 140 over 180. You'd expect the supplies to be pretty much matched. And remember, 80 of that supply is in drone count. So he doesn't have an army that's capable of dealing with this. These infestors have been out for a very long time. Look at all that purple. That's quite a lot of energy, and that energy is going to melt all the unupgraded Zerglings. They don't even have armor yet. It'll be popping in just a couple of seconds, and the only handful of Ultralisks that'll be coming out on the field will get chewed up by just concentrated fire once all the Zerglings are down. So Kangaroosack has got to pray for some more time, maybe think about sacrificing this fourth, because he's got a ridiculous number of harvesters, a lot of money, but he just needs time to get out those units. Quite a lot of money saved up. This fourth is definitely going to fall. Probably a good idea for Sack not to waste money defending against this maxed Roach Hydra army. And you can also notice that there's not a lot of Hydras in this army, just enough to provide anti-air. He's really relying on the fungal growths from the infestors to do the majority of the AoE damage, the majority of the crowd control damage, and then the roaches just to provide a wall that either holds baddies in place or denies them the chance to get back on top of the infestors. A lot of Zerglings out on the field, some lumbering Ultralisks. These Ultralisks have to be very careful to not get caught unprepared. Some of the fresh infestors in the back, a nice fungal growth capturing 2 of them, but then 2 just instinctive fungal growths down on the majority of Don's army. Look at that massive damage it just does. I wish we could find out exactly like the number of damage points done to those units, because that is just some massive damage. Don has to pull back, just be a little bit more cautious with his units. That's just some massive damage. Oh my goodness, those roaches. But these Ultralisks have to be kind of careful too. They can't really afford to lose another hatchery. The money, the income, the bank that Kangaroo had a couple minutes ago is completely spent. Not completely, he's still got a K. But Don is continuing to bank. His harvester count is pretty much neck and neck because that fourth went down. But the harvesters are mining off of the fourth and the third totally evenly. Zerglings rushing in, and by evenly I mean that the saturation here isn't like super high. So the losses from the drones are going to be pretty minimal, but the high Ultralisks are engaging directly into Don's army. You can just see a massive number of infested Terrans coming out, drawing the fire from the Ultralisks, even though they're doing some really good damage to the army. The majority of the damage dealers, the Roaches and the Hydras, weren't engaged directly. It was mostly spent on these inexpensive infested Terran. And so the damage reduction that was done, you can see it's 168 to 128 supply. These infested Terrans, they're in pretty low health because they took so much damage from the Ultralisks, but not that damage did not go on the Roaches, where you'd actually take extra damage, and that leaves Don's army in almost perfect health to push down into this third, crush it. There's zero saturation here. It's not really going to affect the economy too much of Kangaroo, but he was going to rely on this because in a couple of seconds I'm going to snap down. 24-minute mark, his main should be completely mined out, and his natural should almost be mined out. But I don't want to miss this kind of back and forth. These Hydras, Don has to be very careful not to allow all 4 of the Ultras to push forward and catch the Roaches completely off guard. Some nice hits there, but also some really good micro pulling back, allowing the infested Terran to take the damage from the Ultras. That is some grade A unit control right there. That was really good. So here's what I was talking about. Natural almost mined out, main completely mined out. And then back to the Ultralisks, because I don't want to miss it. At this point, Don could just 1A in and crush all of these Ultras, but he's just kiting them back, taking minimal damage, doing maximum damage, and all of a sudden you've only got 2 Ultras, one of which only has 30 health, and Kangaroosack's in a lot of trouble. Constantly trying to re-macro, but I just doesn't have the larva. 53 larva to 9 for Don, in Don's favor, and just constantly re-macroing. He's got quite a lot of money. Don could remake the army that we see right here 3 times over. And it looks like Kangaroo's going to tap out. He's only got 1 mining base. It's the correct decision. Man, that was some really, really good micro in the battle up here with the throwing down the infested Terran to draw the fire from the Ultras. And then again down here where you could just see it perfectly clearly. Holy crap. That's a class act right there. That's it for me. You guys are a class act too because you watch this. So if you have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another. I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary. Bye.